This session brought to you by Odyssey Games for pre-orders and sealed product, CCG Prime for tons of singles and supplies, Cardo Doko for international rulers looking for product, and fowtlibrary.com for articles and wonderful deck lists, as well as our guest lecturer members Vite Ramen, King Pearlshine, and Mognite. Class is in session.
2022.
Hey there, rulers! Welcome back after a long week of Force of Will. Hopefully some pre-releasing to a nice little delayed start here on Office Hours, your favorite ever live Force of Will podcast featuring myself, DMO73, and I'm joined as always by Paul Reisman.
Hi.
Mike Rance. Cool. And joining us tonight, a special guest is Patrick Ogrins. Good to see you, Patrick.
Hey. It's break time from Pokemon.
With that Lumia banner in the background that I wanted to get for FowFest, and you bought it before I could get there.
Correct. Nope, it's that way.
So if y'all people are messed up or angry about not having another banner opportunity, blame Patrick. Hashtag blame Patrick.
Hashtag blame Patrick.
So
that's fine.
Also, do want to say a huge thank you to all of our members who are joining in, as well as everyone who supported us at FowFest. As you can notice, there is a new fancy microphone in front of me. That means I don't have to deal with randomly going squeaky audio, and I just sound better in general for videos. That is thanks to the members. This is the kind of thing that membership helps to go do. It helps us to buy better equipment, better gear, be able to travel to events. So we just want to say thank you for all of that. And if you consider once you consider supporting us financially, that is the easiest way to do it. Get all kinds of cool perks as well. So consider clicking that join button if you haven't already. That being said, guys, the set's out. Well, the pre-release set is out, which means that every card has been spoiled. What do you think? First glances.
There are cards.
We're going to have some fun.
Thank you, Mike.
Got you.
There's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for another event.
Yeah, this set is like almost... I've talked about this before in the last podcast, when like this cards that were already out had me very much feeling like Rhea. They felt like very much like Rhea cluster era rulers, where like they were really tied to a mechanic, and the mechanic felt really fleshed out, and it was like really standalone based on the ruler. And then we saw the rest of the set, and I was like, oh, no, yeah, they really do all feel like that. And also there are good generic cards in this set. Sign me up, right? So it's very, very good. I'm very excited for it. Paul's stealing ninjas, though, which is, considering it's the stealth deck, and stealth is my favorite mechanic, I don't know how he managed to convince me to let him play the stealth deck. But
just build 2 ninja decks. Easy.
That's fair. I'll build it eventually. I did just want to let people know that as we get into feature matches, one of the things we're doing here is we're only going to be playing with max 2 copies of any given ruler's contracts. The whole idea is that we recognize that now that packs have been opened, it does seem like our concerns were realized that didn't have time to fix the pull rates for contracts for set 2. And so to also kind of illustrate the fact that these rulers still feel very functional, fleshed out, and cool to play outside of contracting, we are going to be building our decks for the channel with only 1 to 2 copies of their contract to show that, hey, if you can't buy more of their contracts, you can still build a really functional, really fun ninja deck, a really functional, a really fun T2 deck, a really functional, like, that's what we want to showcase for you. So just keep that in mind. But let's jump into new cards. We got a lot of cards to go through. First off, we're going to start with the only additional ninja card that we didn't already know, which is Kunai Throw. 1 white quick cast ninjutsu, destroy a target just rested J/Resonator, and you can flip this card face down in your standby area, your shinobi area, face up to rest target J/Resonator. So this is a kill spell for 2, essentially, because it pays 1 to put it face down, free to flip it face up, and then 1 to kill something. So it's just 2 will quick cast instant. This combos nicely with Heart to Heart Talk for Hyde, but it's a pretty generic kill spell. I do like the added utility of the fact that it can also just be one void rest something. Yeah, it's also a miscalc, right? Yeah, for sure. I saw this card in the pre-release kit, and I was like, oh, cool, because ninjutsus felt very lackluster in terms of like the ninjutsus themselves being spot removal, so this feels like a really natural fit into that slot for that deck. Nothing to shake a stick at, but neat. Steve McCoy, Ibuki from Street Fighter vibes. Ironic, because when I played Street Fighter, I really liked playing Ibuki.
Same.
So, cool. Dig it. Paul doesn't play fighting games. It's okay. Next up, we have the Light of Megiddo, 3-drop chant, quick cast, J/resonators your opponent controls must attack this turn. If able, whenever a resonator attacks this turn, this card deals 2,000 damage minus X to that resonator, where X is 500 multiplied by the number of attributes that resonator has. And you can mastery it with rebirth or with refrain. So if they are a single attribute card, it's 1,500 damage. A dual attribute card, it's 1,000 damage. A tri-attribute card, because we have had those in existence before, 500 damage. An Adam Brawley, the 5-color Adam Brawley, 0 damage, right? This card to me,
it's not negative 500.
yeah,
damage?
it doesn't heal them.
It heals your Adam Brawler. Buffed.
This card to me is like the card that I was waiting to see for Reflect Refrain. Like they felt like they were playing like a fog control end deck, and I was like, okay, well, they've got some board clears, but like, how are they going to deal with that early game or whatever? This card is fantastic for Reflect Refrain. Like easily my top 5 cards of this set, but also just really, really good.
Turns out this does not kill the giant Dino Boy Marvel. Learned that in pre-release.
Yeah, because he's a bi-attribute card and he's a 15/15, so it'll deal 1,000 to it.
So he doesn't do that, but he kills it. It just kills everything else in pre-release. So
yeah,
have fun with that.
Yeah. Well, this speaks to a lot of this set design as a whole, and we'll get back to it a lot. Almost everything in this set feels very, very good, but you can also point to some place where it falls short, right? Where it's like, sure, it can wipe a whole board, but it can't really answer boss monsters. That's totally fine to me, right? Like, it doesn't need to be able to do everything. And I think that also speaks to kind of some of what they've talked about with their set design approach, is they're trying to make cards not feel like they can do everything. And this is a perfect example of exactly what I would want that kind of card to be.
We call that classic foul syndrome.
Yeah, classic foul syndrome, sure.
Because then you have resonators that are eternal or are just bigger.
Mm-hmm.
You have chants that make everything eternal, so you're like, okay, I don't care if I have to swing it. I was going to do that anyway. Just
right, exactly. Let's see. Twilight Wanderer R&R be like, no. Java, good to see you again. Good evening. How's it going? Good to see all these people popping in the chat, as always.
Welcome, friends.
Yeah, I can't wait to play in pre-release. We're going to be streaming a pre-release this Wednesday because Odyssey Games does our pre-release like the Wednesday after pre-release weekends, just because that's how it works. So in place of a feature match this week, you're going to get a box opening of the new set at noon, and then you're going to get a pre-release taking place later that day. Fun. And a second box opening over on TikTok, just so you know.
Jeremy plugging his TikTok.
The TikToks, we're getting back into it. We're getting back
into it. You upload that long?
We're getting no, it's like a
Or is it a
7-part. It's like a 7-part series of TikToks. Next up, we have Metal Lifeform Wolf. There's not going to be much to talk about with the Metal Lifeforms because all they are is look at their new symbol skill. Metal Lifeform Wolf gives swiftness. So yeah, they do get a swiftness. We kind of expected it, right? Nothing really else to say there.
Turn card sideways.
Turn card sideways, yeah. What's the cost for ours? I think 20
is Fast Goo Boy.
Fast Goo Boy, yeah. I think our cost is 25 or 30, Dan. We'd love to have you come down, for sure, as always. More people playing in the pre-release means more packs to open, meaning more potential secret rares.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we have Metal Lifeform Mermaid. Fusion Metal Lifeform gets an enter effect, which means Dendrobium would get the enter effect of this. Keep that in mind, because Dendrobium enters with these things attached to him. So enter puts target non-magic stone, non-J ruler entity on the bottom of its owner's deck. I have to reread the flavor, just let me read real quick the reminder text for Metal Lifeform. So the big question I have with Metal Life is that, so it enters the field as an addition, but it also gives its abilities to Dendrobium. But additions can still have enter effects. So does Metal Lifeform Mermaid let you bounce 2 things back to the bottom of its owner's deck? Because the addition
So
would
the
be
addition
entering
itself
the
would have
addition,
the ability.
and Dendrobium would, because he enters with this attached to him and being granted the abilities of this card.
Interesting.
That actually makes
That makes
Mermaid
sense.
pretty good.
That makes pretty good sense.
Yeah, Dendrobium getting to bounce 2 things back to the bottom of the deck when he enters with this thing attached is pretty good.
You know what else this thing is good for? And I'm gonna be a shill with me and Paul.
Sure.
It's a 2-drop water resonator.
It is a 2-drop water resonator. That bottom
Oh
deck
my
something.
God.
Yeah.
So
That's
you can
not a
blink it in.
mermaid. Fail.
You can flash it in with Valentina 1, or you could search it out.
Yeah, Mermaid gets like either mediocre or insane if it gets double enter effects or not.
Yeah.
So like it'll be really interesting to see what happens. Water has been very good That's true. Water's been bringing some good stuff. How would Dendrobium enter with Mermaid attached? So Dendrobium, as part of his resolution, he says, as this card enters, it enters with all of the different metal life forms from your graveyard and RFG attached to him. So it's not enter, give all of them. It's as this card resolves before I hit the field, they are attached to me, and then I hit the field. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And Mermaid wouldn't attach to him if he's already on the... Like, if Mermaid's already on the field, it wouldn't attach to Dendrobium. Dendrobium specifically grabs from the graveyard and RFG. Good question,
If you
Alex.
cast Mermaid after Dendrobium's on the field and attach Mermaid to him.
Then
but
you
then
would
you
still
only get the
just
enter
get the
effect
one
from Mermaid.
the one enter effect. It's
Yeah.
specifically the resolution of contract to Dendrobium. Would that make Metal Life Form Mermaid get you both? Which is interesting.
Remind me if you can only grab one of each name.
One of each name. Yep.
Okay.
It has to be
Making
unique
sure-
names.
Making sure you
Yes.
can't just grab 4 of them and just be like,
Bounce 8 things. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Probably why that text is included, like one name per. Cause it's
Yeah,
like, we wanted
yeah,
to give
for
something
sure.
busted.
For sure. Let's see. I'm trying to see if there's any other questions.
Waterfront Demon.
Yeah, so you can only attach Mermaid from Exile and Graveyard. Yeah. Basically, don't let Dendrobium contract or you die. That's not entirely true. It's based on what he has removed. The biggest thing for Dendrobium would be like if he also has rare metal and has his contract or has his addition out. So then he would have like naturally enter the field with barrier and eternal that's permanent. And then he's a scary boy because then he just can't be messed with at all, and he's a Jade ruler, so like it's hard to remove a Jade ruler that has eternal and barrier. That being said, we do have ways to still kill it, but that is the biggest concern with Dendrobium. Like that's how clearly how he's trying to kill you is make Big Goo Boy kill you, like, which I'm totally down with. It's very cool.
Voltron.
Yeah, very Voltron. I am here closes YouTube in response to Charlie saying hi. It's rude. That's rude. Good to see you, Charlie. Good to see you. Next up we have Metal Lifeform School of Fish, which is just precision, which is pretty mediocre as a keyword. Probably not getting played really ever at all. Maybe
Also isn't a fish.
maybe as a one of, I guess, if you really want to get more simple skills on a man.
I want everybody here to talk about the last time that the keyword precision was relevant in any way, shape, or form.
About
in a
3
duel.
years ago.
Thank you. Anyway, continue.
Waterfront Demon, 1-drop blue flying, banish a resonator, put 2+1/+1 counters on this card. If you banished an ethereal resonator this way, put 4+1/+1 counters on this card instead. And you can banish an ethereal resonator to put this card from your graveyard into the field.
This card's neat.
This card is very, very cool. It's Electo for Reinhardt. Also, this card is nuts if you contract. I did a test shuffle earlier today where I contracted with like 4 things in my grave, and a bunch of them were like 2 of them were the princess that like can ping your opponent and force them to discard a card. And I was like, cool, swing, get the princess. Princess brings your opponent for 2. Swing with the princess, recover. Banish the princess to this thing. Force your opponent to discard a card. Swing with, like, do it again. And you're just like, oh my gosh, this guy is A natural sack outlet is... We already know that sack outlets in general are just very, very good. In FAO, they've always been very, very good. This is a sack outlet that specifically for Ethereals gets to keep coming back. And Ethereals are a sacrifice-heavy mechanic. Honestly, this card existing is what really put it over the edge for me of like, oh yeah, Ethereals are going to be competitive. Like this
I'm
card
very glad that it says Ethereal Resonator, honestly, and it doesn't just say Banisher Resonator.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe a little spooky.
Yes. I mean, again, I like the design of it, and it is what makes me think that Ethereals are going to be competitive, this card existing.
I'm also glad that it's not an Ethereal itself. So you
Agreed.
can't just sack one to grab the other from grave, to sack the one to grab the other from grave.
Yeah, for sure.
Just
Hellfire of Demonic
just
World.
loop
That is a good point, Toby. That if Dendrobium gets good, Hellfire of the Demonic World is going to get much better. Because you can just steal all of the abilities from him and then burn him. That's very, very true. Electo can't exist. I mean, this card is not nearly as like abusable as Electo was. Like, this card doesn't do anything to actually impact your opponent's board state by itself. Whereas Electo was like, do you like having cards in your hand? No. You're not allowed to do that. So, card's fine. Also, looks sick. I have one full art. It's just absolutely gorgeous. It's so cool. It's so cool. Next up is Patrick's favorite card. Gas, gas, gas! 1 green, quick cast. J/Resonators you control gain +4/+4 and pierce until end of turn. If exactly 1 ice counter was removed, it gets +8/+8 precision and pierce until end of turn. Precision not being relevant. And if you did 2 or more, then you tack on an additional 400 and swiftness. So if you burn through your ice counters really, really quickly, it's make your board big and go into it, which is interesting. I really like the way this card is designed, that swiftness is the last thing to get, because if you look at Kilua's like support suite, she's not much of a go wide deck. She doesn't super go wide. And so the idea of like, I'm gonna burn a bunch of these counters, like how are you burning all of those counters will be the most interesting thing to see to me. And so I'm like, the +4/+4 and pierce, totally fine for 1 green. It'll be interesting to see what she can do with making a board to make +12/+12 swiftness relevant. But it's a cool, very cool card. Paul, thoughts?
I can see her playing.
Sorry, anybody?
Go ahead, Paul. Oh, it's fine.
I'm considering setting this to the side for Green Olivia, just because getting a +4/+4 is solid.
Oh.
I mean, it is an instant speed 1-cost green +4/+4, so that's not
with trample. What was Pierce?
Yeah.
Thanks, I hate all of it.
Olivia goes wide. I'm just saying.
Olivia does go wide.
Don't worry, I know.
Patrick, what about you?
I want to play this with either Burning Rapidash or Marching of the Dead.
Ooh. Yeah. March of the Dead? Yeah, for sure.
Marching of the Dead, because you're going to pitch a bunch of your dinosaurs to either refill on ice counters or do something. And then you Marching of the Dead, and you make a token for all of those dinosaurs in your graveyard, and you make them really big.
Stephen Jesswain, did I just say... Did you just say giving +4/+4 is solid? Who heard me? I mean, it's good. Like, I guess when I say solid, I mean it's good. Like, it's fine. The card's fine. Card feels like a super rare. Next up, we have what is probably my most adorable card of the set: Magical Power Piggy Bank. This card is adorable. 1 green, tap, put a magic counter on this card. Remove all magic counters from the game. Banish this card. Put X magic counters on a J ruler you control, where X is the number of magic counters removed this way. Then activate the cost. Then this card deals 500 damage multiplied by X to target J/Resonator. This card's cool. This card's a cool, like, I would honestly wonder if Reflect Refrain could splash into blue to play Mikey to start like duplicating piggy banks. Right? Just like start building up the piggy banks and then crack them. Just like burn your opponent to death with Mikeys. with piggy banks. It's a cool card. It's a cool card.
Feels like an orb retrain.
Yes, it does
Right.
feel like an orb retrain.
This is going to be a fair card. It's not going to be a regalia, so you can't search it out. But
It also costs will,
yeah,
which is very
Yeah.
important when it comes to
it also costs will. Specifically green will, not just nothing.
Oh, I can't believe somebody would expect me to play Green Will in this game of Force of Wind.
at non-quick cast speed, by the way.
Yeah, not great cast speed.
Ryan Miles having a heart attack in the distance.
Let's see. Wind Chaser Dinosaur. Yeah, the piggy bank thing to Rustin, that's a good point. Piggy bank to buy not losing the game for a turn so that you can get enough counters for Refrain's Wings. Like accelerate to getting enough counters for Refrain's Wings. Yep. We kind of expected that Reflect and Refrain were going to get some kind of acceleration for mana counters. Piggy bank is a good example of that. The castle is closer. Yeah. Wind Chaser Dinosaur, 1 green, flying, 4/4, gains +6/+6 as long as there are no ice counters on a ruler named Killua. Remove an ice counter from this card. If you do, recover target Dinosaur Resonator. It gains flying until the end of the turn. The fact that it can target any Dinosaur Resonator is pretty great for this card. I think if it only targeted itself, this card would be pretty meh. But the fact that it can just like make any other dinosaur aggression or anything else like that and keep it like give it the boost makes this card actually pretty cool.
So you wondered how you were going to get all of those ice counters off of Killua super fast. This might be a way to do that.
It also doesn't say once per turn.
Yeah.
So like
it is an enter effect.
oh, it is an
We
enter
don't need
effect.
once
That's
per
true.
turn
That's fair.
effect.
It is not an activate effect. It is an enter effect.
That's correct. It's I can't read.
Oh, it is an enter effect. God, nah, man.
Paul and I
I
can't
wish-
read. It's fine.
I wish reading was way easier than it is, but clearly not.
Why do I suck?
It's
I
okay.
stink.
It's okay. It's also just a very cool looking artwork. All of the artwork of this set is just like fire. It's like absolutely great. Friggin' love it. Now we have my easily one of my top 3 cards of this set, which is Windia. I said top 5 before the podcast. I'm already revising it to top 3.
Wow.
This
wow.
is I love this card so much. I saw it in the pre-release kit opening and I was like, oh my gosh, this card's insane. I'm going to find a way to play it in every deck. Paul also knows that I love 2-cost green quick cast ladies. Like in like Pharesia, like both versions of Pharesia. I'm all about it. Like Paul knows.
Jeremy, your fetish is
Just
getting
getting
very
treated for it, it's
specific.
okay.
Yeah, yep. Two cost green quick cast ladies. That's me. You got it. Somebody clip it. Let's go. Anyway,
Somebody clip that.
Windia. This is Windia, member of the 12 Sacred Knights. 2 green human 12 Sacred Knights. 6/7, which I always think that making it a 6/7 instead of a 6/6 is actually really relevant. Whenever this card deals damage, prevent all damage that would be dealt by the J/Resonator dealt damage this way until end of turn. Not super relevant for combat, but pay 0. This card deals 200 damage to target J/Resonator. Play this ability only once per turn, or pay 0. Return this card to its owner's hand. Keep in mind that that does not say once per turn on the return target to its hand, so you will never kill this card. Once it hits field, you will make me repay it, pay for it, but you will never kill it. This just feels like the next evolution of the 2-drop green like Pharesia card. It's just like another iteration of it, and I really like this one. I think it's a really well-designed card. I mean, people were starting to see in the past set with things like Berserker. We started to see like Pointy Hat Witch and Amaterasu's Foresight start to come back into the meta, like into main deck meta, to like stop J-Ruler damage, because we just didn't have a way to stop that damage for people. And Windia is just like a card that says, cool, I can be a repeatable answer to that threat. There was a time in Forcible's history where J-Ruler beats got answered by Altising. Like we would loop Altising over and over again, but that was pretty will intensive. Windia just says I don't need to be nearly as will intensive for that, so I can keep up with some of the early pressure of those J-Ruler beats in a way that is like also not insane to like, you're not winning the game with Windia. Windia is keeping you from losing the game. And I just really like this card. Top 3. Hit it with Flame of Outer World just out of spite. That's fair.
Oh, that's fair.
That's fair.
That's high praise.
Did Rustin just say Lorite, the return to hand ability?
I said wait.
I said,
like,
and then wait. Yeah,
I
there's
read
no
the
once per turn.
card.
Just yeah, for sure.
You get a pass. They're new cards. It's okay.
It's fair. It's fair. This card is
Don't worry, you're allowed to be wrong.
This card is so good. This card is so good. I cannot wait to use it in any deck that I can feasibly get
Any
double.
deck that is flashing green.
Any
in the
deck where I can
slightest.
feasibly get to double green easily. Windia's going in at least a 2 of in the main deck. This card is so good. Also going in the cube.
Yeah.
She's like
Cube card.
she's like a really good cube card.
I think she might be a little too good for the cube. But that's
I'm
that might-
also wondering that myself.
She becomes our next test card for the cube.
Yeah,
There we go.
Say, like, she's kind of like infinite
Our last-
stall.
Our last well, she can only stop one thing of damage a turn, right? So like that's something to note.
Unless you bounce it and pay for it again.
Yeah, but then you're paying like 4 will. That's fine. In the cube environment, that's fine. Both players have a lot of will to be able to play with. Yeah, anyway. Our last experimental card in the cube was Revenant, and he's honestly tested to be actually just a fine addition for the cube. I had a person kill Revenant all 3 times that I reanimated it, and I still didn't win the game with it, so it's worked out to be just fine. Okay, moving on. We have ethereal stuff. This is Ethereal Witch. 1 black, 1 colorless, 6/7 with Bane. Enter Ethereal J Resonators you control. Gain Bane as long as this card's in your possession EX area. When this card leaves the field, your opponent banishes a Resonator.
You remember Mozart?
This is him now. Yeah.
This card is this card to me, I think this card to me felt unplayable until I remembered that Dexia doesn't care what the cost of the Ethereal Resonator you cheat in is. Like Dexia just gets to go, you flash in a 2 cost, you flash in this lady, banish her. You probably don't send her to the Ethereal area, but you force your opponent to banish a Resonator, and Dexia draws you a card to replace her. Like this feels to me like the most, and it actually will trigger twice, right? Because of Dexia, right? So you flash this in, you'll force your opponent to banish 2 Resonators. Like this to me feels like the #1 generic cheat in off of Dexia to get the most value off of him. Which is a very good
Take
card.
it back. It's not Mozart. It's Burgeoning Despair.
Yeah, yeah, because you're forcing your opponent to banish 2 things, right? Why is this not Ethereal Witch? No, what? No. As a race? That she doesn't have Witch as a race? She a ghost.
Yeah.
Ghost Witch.
Broke our limited event pre-release. I don't know the power level of your cube, but be careful. Oh, the cube can handle Windia. There are things in the cube that will handle Windia just fine. Yeah, I am rocking a power cube at max rarity. And I finally get to replace the last of the terrible stones. Let's all take a moment and applaud the fact that I get to replace the terrible stones in the cube now.
Because we're not playing any resonance cards.
Well, because we don't have to use the countdown stones from Vingolf 2 anymore. Vingolf 3 anymore.
The worst.
The worst
The worst
stones.
The worst stones.
Yeah, Princess, it's the same thing as like Princess. Yeah, you just continually get to kill stuff all the time, for sure. Oh, that's true. That's true. I didn't think about the fact that this also combos really well with Princess, because Princess can just ping something for 2 for free and have Bane. That's really, really good.
Oh, jeez.
Just the stun deck is gonna stun. We walked in with Ethereals looking at their first like soldier guy being like, oh, tax on chance, oh, tax on, making your opponent not be able to do damage. We're like, it's the stun deck. More evidence to the fact that it's the stun deck. Good point. I regret taking all the life clause cards, not knowing that Inferno wasn't in the cube. I'm sorry. Yeah, Inferno's not going in the cube. So this is 1 cost 4/4 human messenger from the Paramita of the dead from the. Enter. You may put a card from your graveyard into your possession EX area or face down enter your Shinobi EX area. Card feels totally fine for pre-release. It's a nice little. It's a nice little limited card and a recycler. I mean, I wouldn't play it as a 4 of, right? Because it requires something to be there. But like as a 2 of to fill in some space in those decks, I'd totally be down for it. So, yeah, Nothing really to shake a stick at with her. Just a cool card.
It's a neat normal.
Now, the card that everyone's really talking about, Ethereal Lamentations. 1 blue, 1 black. As an additional cost to play this card, put X cards from your possession area into the graveyard. Choose up to 2. Draw X cards. Your opponent discards X cards. Your opponent banishes X resonators. Yeah, card good. Card very good, especially since Dexy is going to be growing your EX area. You start it with 3, you'll get to 4 very quickly, you'll get to 5 very quickly. Pay 2 will make your opponent discard 5 cards, you draw 5 cards. Remember when we had to pay 7 to do that off of a Valentina spell?
Sure do.
Never mind
Yeah.
the mode that gets around Barrier and Eternal.
Yeah, for sure.
And it doesn't have quick cast, so you can't Barrier spell it either.
Riku Kamashi, doesn't anything going
Very
to my
safe.
EX area go face down? No. The ninjutsu area specifically tends to put cards face down in your ninjutsu area. Ethereal stuff goes into the ethereal zone face up. You never saw that this card said choose 2? Yeah. I mean, even if
Yeah.
it said choose 1, it'd be great, but it's choose up to 2. Like, it's very good. Card is very good.
Card's a little disgusting. once
Card
you
makes
get
me
going.
card makes me very glad that we have that sideboardable card to get cards out of your opponent's EX area that like anyone will be able to splash, right? Is for against cards like this. You see your opponent loading up and you're like, I don't want to deal with this. Like, get those out of there. Yeah. Cool card though. Creepy artwork. Cool card. I think that's the end of the colored stuff that we haven't already seen at that point. So now we're getting into the void stuff. This is stuff that was spoiled on the web by the company, as well as those that were just in the set release. So we have chromovore gears. 4 cost 10/10 gears with precision. Pay 1 less to card this for each different attribute among entities your opponent controls. Enter, draw 2 cards. Is your opponent color greedy? Okay.
Yeah.
Keep in mind this will not count rulers. It's important.
Really
to note.
glad it doesn't.
Correct.
But keep in mind that if your opponent is one of the guys who gets a cocoon right off the beginning of the game, most of those cocoons are 2 color. So this guy is suddenly a 2 cost 10/10 that draws you 2 cards. This card could seriously see sideboard play outside of Gears decks. Like, for just being a good potential free draw power body threat. Cool card.
No, it didn't need to be a 10/10, honestly.
Doesn't count
but-
stones.
But they
Stones
did
don't.
that. They did
Stones
that for
don't.
us.
Stones don't have an attribute, my guy, Toby. Stones are attributeless. They just produce that color. They don't have an actual attribute. So while it would count stones if you color them with painter, it will not do anything.
I think some of the true magic stones actually had a attribute.
Nope.
You sure?
Stones are all
Okay.
void, my guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm remembering wrong then.
Also, just looks sick. Like this card, like all the gear art, like just I really like it. Now that we're seeing like more of it, more of the actual like robots of the gears, it's just really cool. Paul, you've been very quiet.
Yeah. I mean, like, you're saying all the right things. I still think precision's a good keyword, but that's all I got.
It's fair.
There are 2 cards that I
Precision.
can kill your stuff, and you can't, like, even all your stuff that's knocked is gonna be.
I guess I should
If we
say
get
this:
in-
precision is not a keyword that I would actively pursue. However, if something has precision, I'm like, oh, okay, that's nice.
Yeah, it's like a 6 out of 10. Like, it's not bad, but it's certainly not like the best keyword.
Paul's just having fun with you guys in the
I
chat.
think
Yeah.
Precision is one of the few ways you can get rid of something that is just going to sit there with barrier, and I'm not going to tap it. It's just going to be like sit there. And it's not going to do anything like Dolly. You don't want to do anything with Dolly because it has barrier and it gives you extra stuff, but you can swing into it with precision and get rid of it.
Paul, the chat is ragging on you. You got done with the one mermaid like card. Paul checks out from the chat.
Wait, there's no Olivia support? Okay, I'm done.
Okay, let's see. I also do really like Charlie here. They're metal gears. Archetype, what some would say, would be solid. It seems like a solid archetype. So you can say they're Metal Gear Solid. Metal Gears Solid.
Otacon Metal Gear.
Metal Shield.
Metal Shield.
Metal Shield Solid.
It's a shield snake.
Can we talk about how like
Liquid.
can we talk about how like starting in like Dual Cluster 1, the company has just leaned into like references and like a little bit of the memes. Like they've leaned into it, and I'm just
You act like
I'm
this
here-
didn't start with prokaryotic being.
yeah, but I'm just here for it,
Deep
right?
cut. That's a deep cut.
I'm
that
just
nobody
very
should've gotten.
I'm very here for it. I just like really enjoy it.
I agree. I'm waiting for a Rules of Nature reference somewhere.
I mean, listen, if we didn't have a Mimi tribe, I don't know where the hell else it's
Right?
gonna come up.
Next up, we have the Collector Gears. This is a 1-drop avoid, 1-drop gears, 1/4 barrier, produce one. So it's like a little mini flute with barrier. Surprisingly more relevant than flute because of the fact that it is a gears entity. So it's really nice to be able to set up for being able to play those other gears cards that require you to play from gears resonators. This probably is a pretty standard card for gears decks. I also think Ainz might play it as well.
He's just a little guy.
To me, this this card makes, even going back to Ainz, this card makes 3 Wise Men infinitely more playable as well, because you can play, because you can then set up like a Wise Men on 2 by playing this card on 1, which is also really
Then you
nice.
can play chromovores with that. Will.
Yeah, you get a lot of will
Man,
out
you
of it
just
for sure.
go.
I mean, part of that means to make sure that we can get like an Origins ban into the hard Origins ban, so we lose the Drywing, the easy Drywing. But I think it feels pretty likely that that's going to happen, according to the data that's been recently submitted to the company with like the Uber series and Fowfest and the cards that they're designing. So like, kind of feels like we're getting that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
God damn it, Steven.
Next up we have Gears Recycling. 2 cost Gears. As additional cost to play this card, put 2 Gears Resonators from your graveyard on the bottom of your deck in a random order. If you do, copy this spell, which means it becomes draw 2 cards, produce 2 void. This card's like it's like a better Gearsification. Because don't get me wrong, I like Gearsification, but sometimes you're like, I have one thing. This is not going to get me much value. Whereas this card's like, oh, you only have one thing? Your other stuff probably died. Draw 2, refund this card. Like, yeah, okay. I'm here for it. I really like this card a lot.
Seems
Also,
okay.
additional cost to put things back. It's not part of the effect. It's additional cost.
You're gonna get to tuck those. You're gonna get to tuck those things in, regardless of what happens to this spell. And it is also you may. That's the other big thing about this too. Is you may is huge, which means this card can be usable even if you don't have 2 Gears Resonators to put back, which is also very important.
Oh, that's true, Rustin. It can help you get the Death Scythe extra turn.
Yep, because you can recycle some of your other things back into the deck if you're run out of names. Interesting card that I've seen, particularly Lars already talking about with this deck, is the Charlotte, the 2-drop Charlotte from Echoes of the New World, banned Charlotte, who lets you cast Chance for 1 void less.
All right, so remember that
in the
because
Gears
it's something
deck?
just
I
remember
played
because,
that.
because it's something that Lars said, though, you have to immediately lose like 3 games with it before it even becomes viable.
Sure, right, but like Death Scythe for 1, this card copied for 1, like not.
I played that Charlotte back in the day when it came out because we had the one.
I'm really frustrated. Go ahead. Sorry.
We had the 1 green, 1 colorless ramp spell that came in untapped
Yeah.
With a basic stone, and I was just like, all right, so I play this. I go will neutral.
It can't make Demon Sword free. Keep that in mind. Demon Sword can't be cast unless you're actually paying the will for it. So you can pay. Yeah, you have to play it with a will used from a Gears entity. So if you get it down to 0, the card can't be cast.
Oh my god, it's already time for shit on Toby's opinions and
No. It's just pointing that out because we have had that question come up in the Discord as well of like, well, what if I get it to 0? Does it mean I can play it? No, you can't. It specifically says you may only play this card if you pay it with will produced by a Gears entity. So if you get it down to 0 cost, you don't get to like override that condition.
I love shit on Toby's opinions hour.
Here's a ruling
What do you mean?
question.
My top tier.
Go ahead, Paul.
The ruling question is this is a Gears card,
Sure.
and so the production of the will from Gears Recycling being a Gears, is that an entity that's generating? Because it's not on the field, right? Entities are on the field.
Correct.
It wouldn't be from an
Okay.
entity. You're correct.
So yeah, I don't think this would. I don't think
can't
you could
cast
use
it
the will
by-
from this
by-
to cast your Death Scythe, or your Claw, or whatever one of the ones that requires the cast it from. Yeah,
Sad.
That's why it doesn't work.
that's why it don't work. Next up we have Hammer Gears. Actually, no, we're gonna jump ahead a little bit because Hammer Gears will make more sense when we talk about Painter Gears first. So Painter Gears, 0 cost, 0/1 quick cast that you can play up to 8 copies of in your deck. Enter, choose an attribute, target entity or spell gains the chosen attribute until end of turn. So you can give a stone a color, you can make something that's 2 color, 3 color, you can make something that's void, have 1 attribute on it. You do all kinds of stuff that you want. This is a very neat card. It opens up a lot of very interesting interactions. It also makes some old cards suddenly a lot more weirdly viable. Cards like Back to Nature that specifically said like fire or light entity, or fire or water entity, or lighter water entity. Like there's a lot of things that this card can implicate both in, and it also makes it so that like even if Warhorse gets banned, Machina 1.0 might still have some silly shenanigans that he can do because he can just pay 0 and search up Painter Gears. And so like that's interesting to kind of consider. This is a very neat card. Painter Gears is a Kirby entity, Paul. Changed my mind. Paintball. Yeah. Any thoughts about this card before I go into back to Hammer Gears?
No.
Cool. Great.
Nope. Painter.
Back to Hammer Gears. So Hammer Gears, 1 cost, 4/4. Pay this card only if you paid its cost with will produced by Gears entities. Enter, destroy target resonator with total cost X or less, or X is the number of the chosen target's attributes. So you have a 1 cost that's only 1 color. Hammer Gears can kill it. You have a 2 cost that's only 1 color. Hammer Gears can't kill it, which is why you use Painter Gears to give it a second attribute, and then Hammer Gears can kill it. This card is a card for limited.
Yes.
Ta-da! This card is not constructed playable. This card is fine for limited, though. So the company will combo ban this with the Shiva spell. Are you talking about to be able to do stone destruction? Because of you can use Painter Gears to make a stone have an attribute, and then you can use Back to Nature to kill the stone? Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if they like proactively did that as a combination ban just to have it not be present. And I'm also fine with that. Like I'm fine with a new card coming out and the company saying we recognize that the interaction of this new card with this old card will cause problems, so we're just not even going to let it be a thing. I could see that being an option for sure. Otherwise, you get Machina that like if they ban Warhorse, Machina's like, I'm the stone destruction deck now. Let's go, which is also very interesting. Keep in mind that you will be able to float the will in response. Like that's a very important thing to always recognize because floating will doesn't use the chase. So like even if they go to target your stone, you have ways to be able to still use the stone at least that turn. But that is something to kind of keep in mind. There are other gears in the background. Look at that little tiny robot in the background there. We don't know
He's
anything.
just a little guy.
It's the recycler. He's just like, I'm gonna recycle. Asuka reanimate 8 painters. I mean, I guess if you want 8 0 10 0 1s, you go for it.
And then you sprinting Stewart.
A lot of the cards have implications with the decks they aren't meant for. Classic Vow. I mean, that's card games with an Eternal format in general. Is that you're just like, let me find this old broken thing, or thing that we didn't catch. So we'll see. We'll see. Next up we have. Did I only grab one of the? No, I did grab both of the retirements, but we'll get to the retirements in a second. We have Reconnaissance Gear, 2 cost, quick cast, 6/6. Enter. This is another reason why I think we might see a ban on Origins. Is because of this card existing. Enter. Choose one. Target J/Resonator you control gains +2/+2 until end of turn, or you may reveal a Gears you own from outside the game and then shuffle it into your deck. From current ruling standards, it seems like that would mean it would then trigger the card's reveal effect and then get shuffled into the deck. Keep that in mind. And then reveal this card from your hand. If you control a Gears J/Ruler, put this card into the field. It gains enter, banish this card. So you can just like reveal it real quick, have it die, trigger the reveal effect of one of your Gears, send that back into the deck, go for it. This card is very good, more so for Sexton Nun than it is for Ainz, because he wants to keep them revealed outside the game, but also still very good, especially considering Ainz doesn't necessarily have to use the mode to reveal a thing. He can just use the pump mode if he really wants to. This card is pretty dang good.
Yeah.
This gear right here makes Ainz broken. I don't really know how this gear makes Ainz broken, since they get mandatorily shuffled into the deck. But I'd be interested to see that. Let's see. You found an infinite with 2 Waterfront Demons. If you give all of your Resonators Ethereal, so 2 Waterfront Demons can just cycle themselves. It's not an infinite. It just means you can do it infinite times if your opponent doesn't stop you. But it's
unless you play Sprinting Steward.
I mean, sure. That's not really. That's not an infinite. That's just a sequence of events that you can take an action infinite amount. Like, it's not an infinite in the sense of like it's a combination that will just continually resolve infinite times. It's just like I can do it's an infinite loop in a sense. In that sense, like the Lumia, Raymond is like an infinite loop. That you can kind of follow. It's not gonna it's not like Schrodinger Mikey that will literally just go and go and go unless you can target at something.
That will go until your opponent dies.
Yeah.
Or the death loop.
The death loop.
The death loop.
Yeah, Reconnaissance Gears is very, very good. It'll suddenly make Squirrel a lot more relevant. Squirrel was kind of the least relevantly revealed Gears. So it'll make
just because we had Drywing.
Sure, but even in Ainz, it was like the least relevant of the Gears for him. So this will make Squirrel a lot more relevant for the Gears decks. It is technically a win. You're not wrong. It is technically a win con. Okay, our last 2 cards. Mike's gone. It wouldn't be a podcast without Mike leaving. Woo woo. Time it. 9:58. We got him. Next up, we have the returns from retirement. So this is Noon returns from retirement. It's 1 void. Play this card without paying its cost. If you played a card named Zex's return from retirement this turn already, but no other cards. So if the one card you played this turn already, you have a chance to play this for free. Shuffle any number.
It's just if you haven't played any other Noons.
Oh, you're correct. Shuffle any number of target cards from your graveyard into your deck. Draw a card. So it's just a little recycle. And then the other one is to quickly go to the other return from retirement. Search your deck for a card with total cost 2 or less with no attribute. Reveal it and put it into your hand if you do shuffle your deck. This gets you Death Scythe. This also
gets you Reconnaissance.
This also is free if you're playing the Charlotte. So you just free search the Death Scythe, which then also costs 1. Like, this card's very good. This card is very good. The other one's kind of meh, but this one's very good. There you go. I'm very excited to play these 2. More than I was excited to play Ainz, and I enjoyed playing Ainz. These guys are going to be very, very fun. And then just quickly go through some artwork for the stool stones. We have the Secret Stone of the Cat Moon, which in my opinion is the best of them. Looks very, very nice. Then we have Secret Stone of the Chaos Moon. And then we have Secret Stone of the Ethereal Moon. And then we have Secret Stone of the Mysterious Moon.
The really best stone.
You're wrong, but it's okay. And then we have Secret Stone of the Wanderer Moon.
Right.
And they are just the rest of the 4C stones. I'm very glad to see that the 4C stones this time around got such unique designs. Don't get me wrong, I really liked the moon fragments. That they had like a clear patterning for like what part, the wind part of them, and regardless of the card always had the same look. The water part of it, kind of same. But I really like this like standalone, back to more unique artwork on the stones. Really, really nice. Really, really cool.
That's pretty cool, man.
Yeah. So that's it for us for tonight. We just wanted to talk about all these cards, like I said, and kind of give you a sense of what's going on later this week with the different pre-releases and videos and everything else and deck profiles. Next week we will probably be able to talk about the new ban list. I can't imagine that sometime this week the new ban list doesn't drop, so that'll be the big topic of next week. Very interested to see. Gosh dang it. Bot coming in right at the end. Thank you, Paul.
Nice.
Can't wait to see what.
Zax, so
yeah, cool. That clearly, yeah, for sure. That was what brought it in. So yeah, very interested to see exactly what is going to come out of that. Hopefully it's not a ton of new cards. Hopefully it's just like Origins and Warhorse like we're wanting. But we'll see what comes out later this week. And so good luck with the rest of your pulls. And until next time, this is myself, DMO73, and I've been joined as always by Paul Reisman, Mike Rance.
Hi.
Peace.
And we're going to let Patrick Ogrins go back and play some more Pokemon. So until next time, class dismissed. Have a good night, everybody.
Peace.